their cut, send it to the studio, and then studio people who are very smart but have never directed anything get a chance to make their notes, send it back to the producers. The producers will then cut it to time, and then it goes out of editorial to the post-production house. So a online facility will do an assembly based off of the EDL, you know, EDL is an electronic decision list. That means the computer has generated a list of telling them what pieces of film go where. So it's just an assembly. So they take this take, this take, this take, this take, this take. It used to actually cut the negative, and that was a 5-day process. But now it's you do it at night. You stick in a disk or a memory stick, and you load in the different. Either it's stored on a hard drive now, your film, or it's stored on a D5 digital master, and it just does an assembly. And from there, it goes to sound editorial, and then sound dubbing, while it also goes to the music composer, and then it also goes to the telecine colorist, and then the online for titles. The telecine colorist, do you guys know what that is? Ever worked with that? So when you shoot something, they develop the film, they develop the negative. If you're on film, more and more shows are actually on high-def video. And you get back your dailies, and they've given it they've kind of fit it into a range. They don't have a lot of time, they transfer it overnight. So the color looks pretty well balanced. But then you'll have an associate producer going for 2 days with a colorist, and they will match cut by cut by cut. And using a computer, he will adjust the color ranges inside of that basic transfer of the film. And it can be a fascinating job and one of the most tedious jobs you'll never want to even sit in on. But when they're done, you get a seamless viewing experience that's pretty neat. As well as in the soundstage, you know, they'll start with just dialogue, and then they'll dub in sound effects, they'll dub in background voices, they'll dub in all these little things, two mixers mixing, and then they'll lay in the music underneath. Play it back, fix it, play it back, fix it. Then the ultimate test is playing it back through a television. Because if you play it back through these great stereo speakers and beautiful amplifiers, you hear everything great. But you only really know what it's going to sound like if you put it through a TV. And when I did this as a job, I went out and got a crappy TV. Because I knew I knew what it sounded like on big speakers, and if it sounded good on a crappy TV, it was going to sound good on anything. Why don't we just go to can we get this to the end? There's a couple of really cool scenes at the end that, hey, I don't know, it was fun to do. So let me chat there. Meet a classic, just run it.
Emergency. Fire.
Look, I got to work with camels. Camels. They were so nice to me. They said, "You want camels?" I said, "You have camels? Really?" He said, "Yeah, you can have camels." So this is the end of the scene. There are 20 infected men who are going to get on an airplane and spread smallpox to the west. Come on, it's the first show of the year. You got to have something really scary. And Jonas, played by Jonas Haysbert, who was the president on 24 a couple of years ago, great guy. he's the leader of this team, and he has set out to stop them from doing that. This is a fun scene to do because it's a big explosion and it was a lot of fun. We'll see that, and then I just want to show you this other, what they call a Fulton extraction, how we get Dennis out of Pakistan. So why don't we just run this real quick. This is shot in Newhall, which is about 40 miles north of LA. There's this huge patch of land that used to be part of the Newhall Ranch, and we represent it as many other places. Okay, got the camels. I know they made a couple of phone calls to network and insurance people, but he insisted on actually driving through that shot, and he was glad he did, but it was a lot of fun to do. We didn't even catch any of those trees on fire, which was the amazing part. We had two 4,000-gallon water trucks. There's any fire in this part of LA, and you'll hear about it. It'll just spread for days. So that's a special effect. I mean, that's something you actually do. That's a real explosion taking place in real time. And now I'm going to show you a visual effect. And it's at the effect. That was built, some of it was shot there, and some of it was shot where you shoot a plate, which is just a still shot of the hillside, and then visual effects, not a green screen. Visual effects will then add this airplane. So this whole airplane doesn't exist except in somebody's computer.
sir. What? I said welcome home.
So, in that scene, the airplane didn't exist. We did pick Dennis up on a 100-foot construction crane. And this is actually something they used to do, but I guess it killed so many people that they haven't done it in a long time. It's called a Fulton extraction. But we watched a 1950s training for a 1960s training film of this particular thing. And when the writer said, this is what we want to do, we said the only way to do this, because when we watched how it was really done, which is this, we realized it was going to cost a lot of money. And they committed to us that they would spend the money it took to make it happen. So inside the airplane, they have a mock-up of that. Everything inside looking out was green screen. We pulled Dennis up against the green screen coming towards the airplane. But everything else, all that airplane in the sky was a visual effect, which more and more movies use, and more TV shows now will start to do this, and have been doing this. Heroes does a lot of it, Lost does a lot of it. Other shows, you'll see a city in the background. I guess Kings, I watched the pilot of Kings, or part of the pilot of Kings. And they created whole cities in the background that, it's not a green screen, they just replace what's there with something else. And it's really neat, it's really expensive. Thanks.